Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear viewers, Assalamu alaikum. I am your host Faisal Raza Khan and you are watching Foresight. Viewers, illegitimate state of Israel and its occupation forces continues ethnic cleansing of Palestinians since 9 months through inhuman and barbaric bombardment and ground assault, unabatedly and with complete impunity. The West, including United States and Germany, are continuously providing deadly weapons and bombs to Israel. It is another story that there is another round of ceasefire talks is going to be held in Qatar. But hopes are grim because Israel is on path of new Middle East. That was announced earlier in September 22nd, 2023. Soon after, in October, we had seen an unprecedented invasion of Gaza. Israel made Gaza an open-air prison first, then unlivable by bombardment, created famine, ruined all hospitals, and ensured that death everywhere, means complete ethnic cleansing to grab Gaza, while killings and land seizure continues in West Bank as well. Pakistan is very much concerned at this situation. Pakistan's permanent representative in the United Nations, Ambassador Munir Akram, stressing the same to have ceasefire, immediate ceasefire in Gaza. While Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, during his address at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, an SCO Plus summit in Astana, Kazakhstan, urged international community to hold Israel accountable for its war crimes, genocide, and bring it to justice. Let's have some glimpse of the Prime Minister's address in Astana.
Excellencies, SCO stands for the observance of the UN principles of sovereignty, territorial integrity, and people's fundamental right to self-determination. We must ensure respect for these universally recognized principles within the SCO borders. UN Security Council resolutions offers a workable framework to resolve long-standing disputes, including those in our region. Failure to implement these resolutions speedily and amicably has brought unimaginable sufferings to the people of these regions. One of the worst examples is Palestine, where over 37,000 innocent civilians, mostly women and children, have been killed, and over 2 million have been displaced by Israel's indiscriminate and unabated bombing. SCO must outrightly denounce this barbaric act and call for an immediate and unconditional ceasefire leading to the implementation of the two-state solution, which includes the establishment of Palestine as a viable, secure, and contiguous state on the basis of pre-1967 borders with Al-Quds as its capital.
Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif rightly said, but unfortunately, the international community is completely mum on the situation of Gaza. It is unfortunate that world powers, United Nations, its Security Council, International Court of Justice, International Criminal Court, international community, unfortunately, the Muslim Ummah and all others just condemning this whole situation, but never try to stop Israel from butchering the innocent civilians. Why they failed to do so? Why? This is a huge question. To address this, we have in our studios Mr. Hamza Amir Khalil. He is the international relations expert. Most welcome to you, Hamza. Thank you very much for your presence. And with him, Akbar Shaheryar Khan. He is a research analyst at Islamabad Policy Research Institute, IPRI. Most welcome to you, Akbar. Thank you very much. And online joining us, Mr. Ali Sarwar Naqvi, a seasoned ambassador. He served many parts of the world and he earned the reputation of being a seasoned and career diplomat. Most welcome to you, Ambassador Ali Sarwar Naqvi Sahab. Thank you very much for your time as well. My first question is to you, Akbar, that how do you categorize the recent cruel Israeli act of approval of the huge West Bank land seizure in decades, especially after 1993 Oslo Accord? That's 12.7 square kilometer exactly of land in Jordan Valley, declared state property. Israel now seized at least 23.7 square kilometers since January 2024. So means that Palestinians are deprived of the private ownership, and now they are barred to use this land. How do you see this?
Well, Faisal Saab, I would categorize this very candidly as blatant fascism, and the kind of fascism that everyone is currently witnessing. This is a digital age, there is media, everyone knows how and everything is taking place on ground. But I would like to take you to the concept, the very concept of Western concept, where three universal rights are: right to life, right to private property, right to freedom of expression. Today when we see Palestinians and we put this measure, Palestinians don't have right to life. They've been killed willy-nilly everywhere. Kids, elder people, non-combatants, there is no discrimination. They are killed indiscriminately. So they don't have right to life. Anyone who speaks against Israel's actions globally is labeled as an anti-Semite, and they lose their freedom of expression. And thirdly, when you see this land grab that has happened, and you've mentioned that it's the largest, is an act since 1993 Oslo Accords.
It is the largest in 30 years. Really.
So this has deprived the Palestinians of their right to private property. And international law is binding on all states. That is in theory. But in practice, we are seeing that one state is blatantly trampling all these so-called universal rights, and Palestinians are losing all their rights. They have lost nearly everything: their homeland, their lives, their properties. So I think this is blatant fascism, and this has been going on. This has been going on since a very long time. Settler colonialism that is being practiced by the state of Israel is being ignored, and they have an ideological end to create a Jewish homeland, and the means that they are adopting to do that, are justified according to them.
So, rightly said, Hamza, is it correct that years before October 7, 2023, Israel invaded Gaza 4 times, had complete blockade for at least 17 years? Gaza had no potable water for 1.2 million. It's earlier than this whole episode happened. 2.2 million were facing acute food shortage and insecurity, and over 80% were actually reliant on humanitarian aid, and that too declined between 2008 and 2022 from $2 billion to meager $500 million. So means Israel's intentions were very much clear about Gaza Strip earlier.
They basically invaded Gaza back in 2008 and 9, then in 2012, then in 2014. Then a series of clashes took place back in 2019, 2021. And then recently on 7th October, when the attacks took place, they invaded Gaza. Now we need to have a look back just 2 days before. On 2nd July, the Commission of Inquiry within Israel, they sat and concluded that Israel had enough early warning signs to stop the attacks. A neighboring friendly Arab country provided credible intelligence report that an attack on 7th October is imminent. Yet, the forces were not deployed, rather they were reduced from the Gazan borders. They were retreated back. And how is it possible that the mighty Iron Dome, which can basically shoot down a rocket traveling at the speed of 3,000 kilometers, cannot shoot down a paraglider traveling at the speed of 70 kilometers? Now, you talked about that Israel always had an intention to invade Gaza. Let me explain it to you. We will have to have a look at the concept of Greater Israel.
Yes.
Okay. The concept of Greater Israel, they can only succeed in achieving Greater Israel by removing the resistance which they are facing from inside. and that is the
Definitely.
Palestinians.
Definitely.
So first they will have to ethnically cleanse the Palestinians, and that is one of the reasons that they converted Gaza, because they were facing resistance from there, not from the West Bank, from Gaza. They converted it into open air prison so that they can make them suffer in order to break their will, so that they can no more resist.
Definitely. Would you like to respond, Akbar, that just before this October 7, 2023, during the 78th UNGA session, one of the maps which was showed to the world, that was about New Middle East, and that means only Israel, not the Palestine. It means there was no two-state solution. So all of the areas, these regions like West Bank, Gaza and the Syrian Golan Heights were the part of that. That shown,
Yes.
and those were the two maps.
Yes.
One was the detailed and one was only Israel. So how do you see that?
It is the kind of behavior that has been repeated in history. We have seen state actors in the past. We talk a lot about Adolf Hitler and Nazi Germany. We talk about other revisionist powers. We talk about right-wing governments in our neighborhood. India is an example. You know, these claims to reclaim ancient homelands and these right-wing claims are normally could be categorized as populist claims. They're there to appease the majority sentiment. And they also display the kind of strategic intent that they have for the region. They want to be the key military player in the region. They want to have that security role, and that security role is being validated by US support, by the European Union, and the three key players in the United Nations Security Council, US, United States, United Kingdom and France. They have openly supported Israel, and their blatant actions were justified as their right to self-defense. But what are they defending themselves against? Unarmed civilians. So that display is in itself is the a display of Israel's strategic intent, that they want to project their power in the wider Middle East region. And we know that what
your point well taken. Ambassador Ali Sarwar Naqvi Sahab is with us. Ambassador Sahab, earlier we were discussing that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has displayed a map during his address to the UNGA, United Nations General Assembly, the 70th session, and in which that was the new Middle East map, and that was before 7th of October 2023. So whether it was pre-planned to attack on Gaza particularly, and what's your thought on Israel's systematic plan by closing the border crossings, the immense genocide made Gaza totally unlivable, starved people to death, along with that end of all medical supplies, destroyed the hospitals, the fuel, electricity, water supplies, those were not available, so that everyone die, unfortunately. Everyone die, and frequent displacements to exhaust all Palestinians, then drive them out of Gaza. Is this the plan of the Israeli regime right now?
Yes, it is quite likely that they are working on a plan to completely wipe out the Palestinian population in the West Bank and Gaza. These are two occupied territories that they acquired in the 1967 war, and they have been very harsh and extremely repressive with the Palestinian population in these areas. And now it seems that they are embarking upon a new initiative or the next phase of their plan, that after subjugating the Palestinians to the extent that they could, now they are completely annihilating the population. In modern history, there are very few examples of this kind of widespread action against a subject population. There is the story of the Cambodian genocide at one time in the 70s, and then there was the Houthi, and in Rwanda, the Houthi and Tutu genocide. Now, this is even worse, because the entire Palestinian population is completely at the mercy of the Israelis, because they have no access to any assistance from anywhere. They have no arms to fight, and they are an innocent population caught in the grip of Israeli war machine. Now, the Israeli government has carried out and is continuing to carry out total elimination of the population through massive bombing, indiscriminate and constant bombing of thousands of pounds of bombs that are being thrown at the population every day. It is also denying them humanitarian aid, and it is pushing the population from one area to another. First, they were pushing them to the north, and then to the south, and then now they are denying them even any space in Rafah. So, and they have not created a humanitarian corridor even. So, this is an action and a policy that must completely be condemned and by the international community, and action should be taken. In fact, under Chapter 7 of the UN Charter, if this kind of wholesale violation of the UN human rights documents, like the Human Rights Convention, the Convention on Social and Economic Rights, and all the literature on these areas of humanitarian importance is being violated. So, international community under Chapter 7 must warn Israel and demand complete cessation of the bombing and the denial of human welfare, relief goods, etc., to the people of Palestine. And if this is not implemented by Israel, then military action should be taken against it under Chapter 7.
Absolutely right, Mr. Ambassador. We'll talk it later on that very important point you raised. Hamza, do you not think that Israel systematically created another environmental disaster in Gaza, because the heavy dust due to the debris, more than at least 330,000 tons of hazardous waste, 97% of the contaminated water, haze, a smell of explosives, human remains, waste, and resultantly the spread of specific air and waterborne diseases that affect skin, eyes, ears, and the other body parts. So now Palestinians are living in a place and slowly they are going towards death. So this is what Israel want.
Yes. Actually, such an environment has actually been created so that Israel can get an excuse to expel Palestinians from Gaza. They have also made the aid, they have made it impossible for the aid to reach Gaza region as well. And most of the airdrops that you can see are in the seas, and Palestinians go there, swim into the water, and they die eventually. I'm going to provide you with some statistics. Right now, as of now, 40,000 Palestinians are martyred, 1 lakh are injured, 10,000 are buried under the rubbles, and these are undocumented.
Yes.
And out of those 1 lakh which are injured, 70% of them are women and children. The Israelis are dropping white phosphorus bombs, which actually suffocate a person, and especially the children. It burns the skins of the children. But the Israelis have so far dropped 90,000 tons of bombs. And to give you a rough estimate, it is equivalent to the 6 times the bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima, the little boy, the nuclear bomb. Now, they are basically turning Gaza into an uninhabitable, unlivable place so that they can expel Gazans and somehow convert Gaza, half of Gaza, into a buffer zone, and for the rest of the Gaza, they are going to turn into for the Israeli settlers to settle in.
Yeah, definitely. You are absolutely right, Akbar. Although is not much mentioning the last three phased ceasefire proposal, but now we are hearing about Qatar-US engagement with Palestinian faction and the Israelis to have a new proposal under consideration, and soon some of the delegations are arriving in Doha as well. Any hope to have end of Israeli invasion, or it would have the same fate as earlier happened due to the Israeli arrogance?
I believe that while we look at the merits within this proposal, Qatar has good ties with the Palestinian factions, and the United States exercises some degree of control and influence over the Israeli government. Even though in the past few months and weeks we've seen that the Israeli regime has acted out of control. Even the US was quite worried about Netanyahu's action. So in this proposal, in this peace proposal, we need to see the key features. What is going to be discussed? Are they going to discuss, settling the Palestinians somewhere? Are they going to discuss anything else? Or is it a simply negotiated peace that is temporary to get back Israeli hostages, and that will be a political win for Netanyahu and get him domestic support? And when they have those hostages back, what happens then?
Yeah,
so
definitely.
They will lose that, they will gain that advantage, and then they don't have to worry about bombing any place they want. Now they're still worried that their hostages might be collateral damage.
And that's why the Palestinian wants some sort of guarantees from the United States, rather, just to have an agreement. So, Akbar, this May in Bahrain, Arab League issued a Manama declaration. Now, recently, OIC called for international protection and deployment of UN peacekeeping force in the occupied Palestinian territories. As rightly Ambassador Ali Sarwar Naqvi was mentioning, that according to the UN Charter, there must have to be an action taken against Israel. But there is another option, I think so, that action might be impossible because of the vetoes you have in Security Council. But the peacekeeping mission must have to be there. And until the two-state solution implemented as it was envisaged by Arab League as well. So Malaysia and Indonesia just recently they have offered their forces to join the peacekeeping force. So would there be any initiative by United Nations Security Council on cards regarding some sort of UN peacekeeping forces, or the Israeli dominance would be there?
I think that we need to look at international relations, and I would like to look at it in the sense of practicality. Okay. First thing, we need to look at United Nations dynamics that are existing there. We know that the Security Council has some states, key members, permanent members have the veto power, and that veto power has been exercised in the past by the US to protect and shelter Israel. Whenever some pushback came from other states, the United States stepped in and it's used the international organization's influence to protect Israel. And next thing we need to see is that the United States position over Israel, because it's a very key player in the Western Circle. So its position has been unyielding despite Israel's blatant human rights abuses. And as far as states like Malaysia and Indonesia are concerned, it's a symbolic gesture to
obviously it is,
but I don't see any practicality it happening in the practical sense. I don't think that those states would be allowed to commit any ground forces in that part of the world, and because there are strategic interests involved, and interests dominate the world
definitely
stage.
You are talking about the real world, so
yes,
that is obviously there. Hamza, international law, United Nations responsibility to protect. Its charter has the consequences and punishment, accountability, and the use of force, what Ambassador Ali Sarwar Naqvi was saying, against such states whosoever commit war crimes, violates human rights, execute genocide, ethnic cleansing. Although it was exercised only in case of weaker opposition, as Akbar was saying about the real world, but Israel's case is vice versa. Unending and total encouragement, unending encouragement and support And International Court of Justice ruling, 3 rulings in fact, those are all thrown away into the trash can. No respect for humanity.
Yes.
Why?
First, we will have to look back when this was basically this charter was invoked. It was invoked back against Libya, the Gaddafi's regime. And using that, NATO bombarded Libya and they killed thousands and thousands of civilians. Now, on the other hand, it is applicable on Israel as well. But the question that is coming in my mind now is that who will actually bring up a resolution against Israel? Even if it is brought up to basically implement this charter, it will be vetoed. Obviously, by the Western or by the USA.
Because they don't want any action against
exactly
Israel.
This lack of accountability has basically given Israel a green signal. Just yesterday, and since the start of war, the office of Netanyahu has categorically said that even if they get the hostages out, they are not going to leave Gaza unless and until they have met the objectives. And what are those objectives? It is clear-cut, simple: the surrender of Palestinians and expulsion of Palestinians.
There is no other option.
There is no other option.
Your point well taken. Ambassador Ali Sarwar, Naqvi sahab, United Nations Security Council, even P5, including United States, which vetoed all the United Nations Security Council resolutions for immediate humanitarian ceasefire, and except only exception is the June 10th resolution 2735, but not implemented, unfortunately. International Criminal Court has also not implemented anything but advised Israel to limit death toll. So whether it's all by design and put the authenticity of the international law and credibility of the United Nations in question?
Yes, I think, this incident or this entire episode illustrates very well that the Western countries have drafted all these laws and regulations in a manner that they interpret it as best as they wish. Now, these laws are all applicable to Israel, but and the Western countries choose to ignore the entire situation as far as the implementation of laws is concerned. The first thing that should be done is to stop the supply of arms to Israel. I mean, this is an outrageous situation where US and Germany continue to, as you yourself said, continue to supply arms to Israel. Secondly, there should be an immediate stop of the end to the bombing campaign. And this is purely on humanitarian grounds, not in respect of the merits or demerits of whatever case there may be. The hostages issue is there, but that does not justify the indiscriminate harm to the population of Palestine, which has nothing to do with this kind of situation. So I think the Western countries are fully accountable for this outrage, this humanitarian crisis that has been created, and they have no justification for not applying the laws that are there, which they themselves have drafted for protection or civilian protection. There is, in fact, a new resolution of the UN, not new, but a few years back, the responsibility to protect, R2P. Under the R2P, the international community has an obligation to protect civilian populations, and that should be invoked.
Some political scientists like John Mearsheimer cautioned that there are 4 options to the current Middle Eastern crisis. A greater Israel that initially includes so-called Green Line Israel of before 1967, West Bank and Gaza. Then the 2-state solution, or an Israeli apartheid state, which was there before October 7, 2023, or complete ethnic cleansing, which is currently going on. How do you see this thesis or proposition of John Mearsheimer?
Well, I think the Mearsheimer analysis and the theory of the four possibilities that he talks about uh, are being proven to be true in the sense that first Israel uh, occupied the territories of West Bank and Gaza. It actually belonged to Jordan because under the settlement of the Second World War, under the UN Charter and the peace treaty, the entire region of Palestine was carved up into Israel, and the rest was the Palestinian territories. I was ambassador to Jordan, and I have myself witnessed the plight of the Palestinians in the refugee camps, which was administered by the UNRWA, the UN relief agency. Israel has stopped UNRWA from its activities. Israel has charged that they have some supporters of Palestinians within the organization, which is totally baseless. I mean, the UNRWA works for the humanitarian protection of the population. And the four principles or four possibilities and options that Mearsheimer talks about, the worst seems to be proving to be true, that the greater Israel is being created by this genocide of the Palestinian population.
Your point well taken, Mr. Ambassador. Hamza, why world failed to press Israel to have two-state solution, which was largely supported by almost entire world, including the United States, supported thought of the Palestinian Authority as well. But Israel neither want the Palestinian Authority, nor the two-state solution, nor an independent Palestinian state. Only Israel.
All right. Back in 1990s, there were a series of agreements that were done, the Oslo Accords.
Yes.
And the purpose of doing so was to provide Palestine with a semi-autonomous region, not a two-state, a semi-autonomous region, because I've seen in Western media they have been propagating that Oslo Accord basically provided the Palestinian with a two-state solution. It did not. It's false. And the Oslo Accords later were sabotaged. How? Basically, an American Israeli extremist, Jewish extremist, Goldstein, in 1994, he went to Ibrahim Mosque and killed 100 Palestinians. Later, in 1995, the Israeli Prime Minister, Rabin, he was basically assassinated, and after that, the Oslo Accords were diminished. In my opinion, I can be wrong, but this is my opinion. You also provided the reference of John J. Mearsheimer. My opinion is that two-state solution is not going to work. I have my opinion for that, and I'm going to back it with evidence. You see, in international relations, there should be balance of power for peace to be maintained. If there is a two-state solution, who will emerge victorious militarily, economically, societally? It will be Israel. They have bandwagoning, they have strong allies backing them. And then there is another reason of an Israeli dream, the prophecies that they want to achieve. The prophecies of greater Israel. So would the right wing of Israel accept a two-state solution? Even if it does exist, even if it does happen, they are ultimately, due to a shift in balance of power in favor of Israel, they are ultimately going to go on and invade Palestine, just like they just need an excuse for that, and they are going to come up and build up one.
Your point well taken. Do you think, Akbar, that the current Gaza war, illegitimate state of Israel mantra of escalation, dominance and deterrence ends at its apparent in case of April 1st and 19th tension with Iran, and now at northern border with Hezbollah, along with regarding Houthis, Israel's West-sponsored power is now slowly diminishing, but steadily?
I do believe that based on historical data, based on the strategic behavior of the state and how they have been acting, how they have been formulating and implementing certain policies, it will not stop at one point. It will not. They will continue to want to, dominate the dynamic. In some instances, they have been unsuccessful because I don't believe that they predicted or expected the Iranian response that came to their aggression when they attacked their embassy consulate in. So,
but some of the evidences say otherwise, because it was all premeditated.
Some commentators and some evidences point towards that, but I do believe that the the regime in Israel, they will not stop, or they will not cease, because you see the nature, the government, the ideological government that is there, the right wing sentiment that is there, they will continue to demand more and more.
Because of the US intervention, it was kind of a calculated response.
Calculated response. You see, they will continue to move forward. They will continue to want to dominate the dynamic, to have the upper hand, to dominate the escalation ladder. And for that, you see, there is an unhindered transfer of arms going on. They have the top-notch weaponry. They have AI-guided weapon systems and intelligence systems that are targeting civilian populations, and their AI is basically aiding them in targeting suspected militants.
Your point well taken.
They have a lot of
Ambassador Ali Sarwar, Naqvi sahab, Israelis continues to attack southern Lebanon as well as retaliation. When Hezbollah responded, now Israel's war cabinet pushing its PM for large-scale military operation against Hezbollah as well. So now Israeli population from north is actually shifting to middle, and additional army movements and deployments were seen towards the northern borders. So Israel already attacked on Syria and deploying more troops at the Egyptian border. Whether the conflict is spilling over in Middle East?
Yes, I think it is quite likely that the conflict will spill over, because Hezbollah has already warned Israel that if they do not stop the bombing campaign, then Hezbollah has the right to launch missile attacks on Israel. Then the Houthis are attacking the Gulf shipping in the shipping in the Red Sea and in the areas in the Mediterranean around around Israel and Gaza. And I think the other factors that will come into play, for example, you see, within the Israeli army, there has been a demand by the generals that the government should stop the killing of Palestinians and the bombing campaign. This was reported 2 days ago. So there are different elements of opposition to Israel's policies from different quarters. And this cannot go on indefinitely. The plight of the Palestinian people is unprecedented.
Right, you are absolutely right. We have unfortunately run short of time. Thank you very much for your presence online. Thank you very much, Hamza, for your presence here. Thank you very much, Akbar.
Thank you, sir.
Viewers, as our panelists were very much eager to have peace in the Middle East, and that is the main thing which is in every heart across the world, but not in the hearts of the states, because the states don't have hearts. So Palestinians don't have the right to live, unfortunately, right now. Gaza genocide is the worst ever in the human history. So it is important to cut the arms supply of Israel, as suggested by our panelists. Immediate ceasefire and humanitarian aid to Gaza is a must, as the Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif stressed upon in his address to Shanghai Cooperation Organization in Astana, Kazakhstan. The two-state solution which Pakistan supports all along, it is important that all the Middle Eastern players sit together, particularly the Muslim countries, to have some sort of a solution of the Palestinian crisis. Otherwise, the kind of genocide, the barbaric bombardment and the ground assault is going on. There are fears, there are lots of threats that Gazans are going to be wiped out. that is must have to be stopped. This is going to be the worst ever example of the genocide, war crimes and wiping out of the entire population. This is going to be the dangerous precedent for entire world, that any state can do anything she wants against the innocents who don't have the voice. So this is going to be very dangerous really. It's today's Foresight. Time to sign off. Allah Hafiz.